Hello, everyone. I'm Stuart Fischman. It's 6 o'clock in Israel, and this is welcome to our first class on why we do what we do. The why question is like we'll ask why. Why is this like this? Why is that like that? It's asked about laws of nature. It's asked about human laws. And it can be asked about the Torah also. Why, for example, don't we eat pork? Why, for example, just look at the slides. I can ask about Shabbos candles. I'm not sure what's in this bowl over there. So I'm not going to relate to the bowl. I'm not sure what that bowl is. There's a silver cup with some wine, Kiddush, Shabbos candles, kippot. Why do you wear kippot? Up here in the right-hand corner, there's a chamsa. All sorts of things we can ask about. So in the upcoming classes, we'll probably talk about various things that we do, why we do them. Today, I'd like to think more as an introduction to the actual question of why is it allowed in Judaism to ask why. When I was a little kid and I was in yeshiva, I'd ask my father, why do I have to do this? And when a little kid asked the question, why, parents who were tired from working all day and they aren't interested in like smart alecky questions, they say because. All right. Why? Because. There's no follow-up to that. Or it didn't create much dialogue. But as you move on, Bezrat Hashem and learning Torah, we see that this question, why, if the question is even admitted, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. Not that simple at all. There's a famous Gemara. I'll start with this Gemara. It's in Brachos Lamed Gimel Amud Bet. It starts over here. It's a Mishnah. And in the days of this Mishnah, the Siddur wasn't really fixed. And Chazanim, even they were still writing Putim well into the 8th century. So Chazan would say, You Hashem, there's an Isser of, or Mitzvah, you could say, of Shiluach HaKen. If I'm walking in the woods, I imagine it's the woods because I've never seen a bird's nest in my entire life. And you see a mother bird hovering over her eggs, and you need an egg. Before you take the egg, chase the mother away. That's a mitzvah. And the Chazan who composed this prayer said, well, you showed mercy to the bird in its nest, and your name shall be remembered well. It's like an inspiring mitzvah. The God of the Jews has mercy even on birds. It's really a nice thought, right? Or Mashatkin also. No, that is not an admissible prayer at all. The prayer is not admissible. We tell us Chazan to be quiet. Okay? Now, the Gemara asks why. Okay, here's a why question. The Mishnah tells us a law, and anyone who learns, as a familiar with the Gemara, knows that within the Gemara itself, there are a lot of why questions. The Mishnah is a book of laws. The Gemara is a discussion of these laws. And in the Gemara's world, if you want to discuss a halacha, it is admissible to ask, well, why is the law this way? Okay? My timer. There's the why. Why is this prayer, which seems to be a praise of Hashem, inadmissible? We're praising Hashem who has mercy even on birds. Why not? Why? Why is this prayer inadmissible? Think of our Tramurai B'Marava. So the Gemara says there are two Amoraim in Eretz Yisrael who expressed an opinion on this. Each one had his own opinion. Rabbi Yossi bar Abin, Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida. Rabbi Yossi bar Abin, Rabbi Yossi bar Zvida. You're saying, that Hashem has preference on some animals and not on other animals. Hashem has mercy on all the creation. If you're singling out birds because of mitzvah shiluach haken, then you're implying that Hashem doesn't have mercy on zebras or lobsters. The whole creation is supported by Hashem. Why say Hashem has favorites? You're saying in this prayer that you understand Hashem's motives in giving mitzvot, and his motive in mitzvot is rachamim. No. And that's the whole thing. This gets the essence of why. If I can say that Hashem's motives are based on mercy, then it's inviting me to ask follow-up questions. Well, why mercy on the birds and not on the hippopotamus? So Rabbi wanted this, the Amara and Eretz Yisrael said, no, there's no why that's in it. When it comes to looking at the mitzvah, the why question is inadmissible. That is the simple reading of this Gemara. Einan ela gzeirot. The mitzvah and the Torah are decrees, and when the king gives a decree, it's for the people to obey. You don't ask why, because I can ask, I don't know, if the plumber comes to my house and I ask him for an estimate, and he gives me a number, I can ask him, well, why are you charging me so much money? I go to a restaurant and when I order dinner, they come and they bring it out cold. I said, why is the food cold? When I have a relationship of equals, then I'm allowed to ask why. But when a king gives a decree, you can't ask why. Ein anel gzeros. And Rashi is pretty clear on this. Okay? Midosa mitzvosa. Ulo l'rachmi masa. Hashem didn't give the mitzvot out of mercy. It's not Hashem has mercy on this mother bird. Rather, it was to impose on the Jewish people decrees. Well, they're Hashem ovda. So that we are Hashem's servants. Rishomei mitzvosav. We observe His mitzvot and His gzeirot and chukot. Even if, and that's a Gemara, Rashi, a theme in Rashi, also appears on the Chumash. There's certain mitzvot that I can't. Like I went to dental school. My whole life I was in yeshiva, and then I went to dental school, and some of my best friends were Italians. They used to call me, I had a kippah. They used to call me the rabbi. So rabbi, like if they want to tease me. So we're going out for a pizza. You want to come along with us? I can't go eat your pizza. Well, why not? I really can't explain adequately why, first of all, pepperoni itself is not kosher, and why pepperoni with cheese would be basar b'chalav. Even if the pepperoni was kosher, I still can't eat it. And we listen, we obey. So this why is a non-starter for Rashi. Rashi apparently, the why question, at least as he understands this Gemara, is no. There's no why. So when I go back to the, why we do slide, the answer really is because Hashem gave us laws. Obviously, there are minhagim. We can talk about minhagim and the rabbanins, but the mitzvah, the Taryag mitzvot, essentially, they're there because Hashem we serve Hashem. Hashem knows why He made. Hashem knows why I can't eat pepperoni. Hashem knows why pasuk b'chalav is bad for me spiritually. But for me, myself, I don't need to ask Hashem why. He's the king. I trust the king. And there are midrashei Chazal along these lines. Perhaps the most famous example of the halacha that could never be understood is the paraduma. It's chukat Torah. And Shemuel Melech wrote Kohelet. He wrote Mishle, he wrote Kohelet, Shir Shirim. And Kohelet Shlomo Melech writes, Kol ze nisiti b'chochma. All these things I examined with chochma. Marti Echkama, I said, I'll figure this out. Hashem told me I have a bracha, I have great chochma. Be rechokami many. It's distant from me. What's he talking about? Now you have a famous medrash. Kol ze nisiti b'chochma. B'yitzhak pasach kol ze nisiti b'chochma. B'yitzhak, when he gave his drasha on Koheles, he opened with this pasuk. Amar Shlomo, l'nachti chochma ba'ol m'shalmati. There was no area of wisdom which I studied and failed to comprehend. When you got to Parshas Paraduma, when I got to the Paraduma, it was beyond me. I cannot understand why we're burning a red heifer, and the person and the Kohanim who handle the red heifer are tamei. But when they sprinkle, but the ashes of this red heifer is the only way for a tamei person to become tahor. There's so many puzzles in Paraduma. Shlomo couldn't figure them out. There's another drasha in the Midbar Rabbah. B'kol lecha paraduma. Hashem says to Moshe, you take the paraduma. Amar Yossi b'Rabbi Chanina. Amakash Baruch Hu. L'cha ani megala tam v'lacha chuka. So I'd say, why is Hashem telling Moshe, you take this part? Because Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't a Kohen. He's not really the one who handled the paraduma. So why does Hashem mean when he says to Moshe Rabbeinu, you'll take this para for yourself, a lecha? What's the lecha? He's not taking it. They're not taking it from Moshe Rabbeinu. He's not a Kohen. Rather, what's the para? What of the paraduma was given to Moshe Rabbeinu? The reason for the paraduma. I'll explain it too. For everybody else, it remains inexplicable. A decree. An inexplicable decree is a chukah, as Rashi says. Okay? And that's it. Okay. And that's the famous drasha. Now, about Shlomo Melech, there's another drasha. And it relates to his fatal flaw. That Shlomo Melech, he got a bracha from Hashem. He really was the smartest human being of his time. He couldn't figure something out. And this was Shlomo Melech's famous flaw. Because he thought about things. That's a lesson of, you could say, this Gemara. The king has mitzvah. Okay? And one of his mitzvot is, Lo yebelu nashim mitzvah kesef zal yebelu ma'od. This is in Pasuk Yud Zayin. He may not have many wives, and his heart will not be turned away. Is this a clause? Okay, so I'm going to make a pencil tool thing here. Do this in blue. And this is like really important for what we're going to talk about today. There's the prohibition, and the Torah tells us a reason. Lo yebelo nashim, lo yasa levavo. Okay? because too many wives, his heart will be turned away. Hashem says so. Now, Shlomo Melech is the wisest person. Hashem told him he's the wisest person. Hashem gave wisdom to Shlomo and profound comprehension, greatly profound comprehension, and a broadness of understanding as broad as the sand along the beach of the sea. Amazing intellect. Hashem gives him this amazing intellect. So what does he do? He loved foreign women, many foreign, nochios rabos. Paro's daughter, Moabite women, Ammoni women, Edomi women, women from Sidon, women from Chet. Okay, they turned his heart away. What happened to Shlomo? He was so wise. He said, I figured out everything. Rabbi Yitzchak. The Torah does not tell us the reasons for the mitzvah. I don't know why I can't eat pepperoni, and I don't know why I can't have basar v'chalav. I'll never have chicken Kiev. Why doesn't the Torah tell me why not, if it's bad for me? Torah. Two psukim. Hashem told, the Torah gives us the reason. Ben Gadol Olam, and the greatest wise man of the world tripped up over this. The Torah says he should not have a lot of wives, and we saw the Torah tells Lo Yasur, lead his heart away. Amar Shlomo, Ani Yarbav Lo Asur. I can have a lot of wives. I'm really, really wise. Hashem told me I'm really, really wise. I know how to manage a household with many, 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 many wives. What does the Torah say? They did lead him astray. Hashem says he shouldn't have a lot of horses. And you can... Parva milk isn't milk, Ms. Schutz. It's very nice of you, but it's not the real deal. Okay. All my Goyish friends told me that it's not the same thing. I asked them actually. Sometimes if I could go out with them, I would take them to a kosher pizza shop, and they said it's awful. They said the kosher pizza is awful. It was by consensus. Kosher pizza is not as good as the stuff that the Goyim are eating. That's what they told me. I believe them. Okay. He got back a lot of horses. No. And they did. Shlomo Melech goes back to Egypt to go get horses. He goes back to Egypt. That's it. Shlomo Melech heard reasons. We don't go looking for reasons. Don't go looking for reasons. Now there's another Gemara. There's a Gemara in Baba Metzia. The Torah says that we have to take care of widows, and we have to have Rahmanis on widows. And one of the mitzvah involving widows is that if you loan money to a widow, you don't take a security to pledge. Almana, a widow. Ben Shianiya, Ben Shiashira. A widow, whether she's poor, whether she's wealthy. And mamashkin osa. You don't take a mashkin from her. If a widow comes to you to borrow money, I lend it to her on faith. Even if this widow drives up to my house, I don't know, in a Lamborghini, and she wants, I don't know, 1,000, and I'll never know, I don't know if I know this widow that well. She wants $1,000. I can't ask her for her watch as a security. Even though if she's driving a Lamborghini, she probably has another 20 watches in a drawer in her kitchen. No, I can't. Torah says, Lo tachmo beged almana. That's the Mishnah. So I would imagine why I can't take widows. In those days were usually poor. Usually the husband took care of the finances and the woman took care of the house. And if her husband's dead, more likely than not, if I would take her, she doesn't have another watch to give me. But even if she's wealthy, Tana Rabbanan, Amana Benchi Aniya Benchi Ashira Ein Mamashkino, Sadi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, the widow, whether she's wealthy, whether she's poor, you cannot take a mashkon from her. Rabbi Shimon Omer Ashira Mamashkin Osa Aniya Ein Mamashkin Osa. Rabbi Shimon said, no. If she's wealthy, it's a business, I can ask her for a mashkon. Aniya Ein Mamashkin Osa. Sh'dachayv lachzir lav atamarsiya shem Rabbi Shkin Osa. And he tells me a reason. Why can't I take the mashkon from her? Because she might need it every night. If I go to the widow's house every night, people think I'm having an affair with the widow, and they'll think bad things about her. So there's a reason. Okay? Now, what do I say based on this? Their argument. Rabbi Yehuda says no mashkon from a widow, period. Rabbi Shimon says wealthy widows, yes. Poor widows, no. Lamemra, this implies that Yehuda Darish time of the crop. There's something called, what we just saw in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, that according to that sugya, the Torah doesn't say why in so many words I don't take the mashkan from a widow. Rabbi Shimon makes an implication. Because you're going to have to give the mashkan back every night if she needs it. And then people say bad things about her. So Rabbi Yehuda will not look for a reason in a pasuk. Lo dashin in time of the crop. Rabbi Shimon darish time of the crop. And Rabbi Shimon will look at the reason. I'll look at a mitzvah and I'll think, okay, why is this so? And on the basis of what I derive, what conclusions may I reach? Okay? But in our Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda says no to the widow's mashkon. Rabbi Shimon says yes to the widow's mashkon. The implication being that Rabbi Yehuda will not examine a rationale for a mitzvah. I just take it what it says. No means no. Shimon will look, well, what's really behind this mitzvah? We heard an opposite. Here we are again with the pasuk of the king. The king shall not have many, many wives. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda Marbahu Avabachal Yumasiras of Libo. This is the drasha that sounds like Shlomo Melech. You can have a lot of wives as long as they're not the sort of wife who will lead his heart astray. If they're all pious, righteous women, they're not going to lead his heart astray, because I look at, if that's what I'm worried about, you should marry nice, firm women. That would be fine, as many as he wants. And Rabbi Shimon says, forget about the yarba, even one wife he can't take if she's that person who will lead him astray. Okay? Because if I'm worried about Yasur, then why is a lot of women? I should examine every wife individually. Is she ethical? Is she moral? Then marry her. If she's wicked, then don't marry her. Why don't take a lot of women? Okay, yarba lo nashim. What have I learned from this yarba? I feel nashim kavigayil. Even if she said tzaddikas like kavigayil. So Rabbi Yehuda looks at the drasha pasuk and he'll make an extrapolation, and Rabbi Shimon won't. La'olam Rabbi Yehuda lo darsh time of the crop. Really, Rabbi Yehuda does not look at the time of the crop. He does not. Okay? Vashani hacha the mafarish kravlo yabal nashim yasur. But here, this pasuk is like begging us to examine, to just read the reason that the Torah gives. Okay? Shani hachim farish kravli yabal nashim lo yasur. The Torah says lo yasur. My time lo yabal nashim shim lo yasur. So that's it. Sometimes they do. Shlomo Melech made a drasha of the Kra and it led him astray. He went like Rabbi Yehuda, but he acted on it. And it led him, and he failed. He failed. So does that mean we should never ever look for reasons? And to say never ever ever, that to me at least sounds like Rashi. That all the mitzvot are l'hatil al Yisrael chukei gzeirosov v'dir Hashem avada v'sham mitzvosov gzeirosov. And we go back to Shiluach HaKen, the Rambam and the Ramban both take exception to Rashi's. I don't know if the Ramban certainly saw Rashi. He knew his commentary. The Rambam was aware of people thinking like this, and he takes very strong exception to it. Before we go into the Rambam and Ramban, any questions?
No.
Hello?
I have a question. So what was the difference between this mitzvah that Shlomo Melech thought that he could violate it because of his reasoning versus other mitzvot? I mean, this is like a Korach type thing, the way it almost seems like, because none of us would say, like, today people that don't keep Shabbat say, okay, well, because we don't have to work to turn on a light switch, but, some people know better. So I'm sure it's not a type of thing like that. So what was it about this mitzvah that led Shlomo Melech to not think that it's a, literal?
All sorts of Mefarshim, they give all sorts of explanations. You could say that he married all these women for political reasons. He wanted out. That's how you built alliances. Kings took princesses from other kingdoms, and they maybe thought he was making an alliance. Okay, that's the simplest explanation. It's not a bad explanation. He wanted alliances with these kings. That's the best I can do off the top of my head. What? Hello?
It's interesting, but it's very different than, you wouldn't do that with, it's like almost basic that we wouldn't do, otherwise, people are always compelled to do that. That's true, but it's always basic that the mitzvot are, solid, and we don't philosophize.
The Gemara and Sanhedrin, their idea is that's exactly it. Why don't we know the reasons for mitzvot? Because I look at the pasuk and I see Vayatu Nashavet Libo. In other words, what the Torah says the king should not allow him to happen, Lo Yasul Avo, it did happen. And they could say that Gemara is just saying precisely what Rashi is warning against. Don't think you understand the mitzvah. And that's the point of this Gemara. We'll see another interpretation in a minute. That why doesn't the Torah tell us some reason for everything? This is like the place where the Torah gives you a reason. Don't do this because. Why doesn't the Torah say it in more places? Because the time that the Torah said, don't do this because, the smartest man who ever existed did it because he understood the because, and he ignored it at his own peril, and it led to a disaster. So don't. Just don't. And that could be the message of this Gemara. We'll see another idea. And it's the Rambam, and the Ramban write about this, because they're very concerned with this. Commotion, this is the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim. It's the Martin Book is a book of theology. So people who study religion and they think about God, is God's behavior arbitrary and capricious, or does he have a goal in mind for humanity? They disagree about the mitzvot. We were given mitzvot. There are people who will not look for reasons at all. Mitzvot are expressions of Hashem's will, and that's the beginning. That's all we need to know. This is what Hashem wants us to do. Hashem is like, I think that's really Rashi. This is Hashem's will. Do it. And there are people who say the mitzvot contain a divine intelligence. And there's a goal for the mitzvot. All the mitzvot have reasons. And for particular goals for humanity to reach, Hashem wants to guide humanity that we should behave correctly. If I look at every single mitzvah, I will find a goal towards which that mitzvah is aimed. Okay? Now, there's some mitzvah we don't know the reason. We don't know what divine intelligence is this mitzvah expressing. That is our opinion. Hashem does a Torah, and the Torah says the Torah is full of righteous laws. They're not arbitrary laws. There's an adjective, tzadikim. The mitzvot of Hashem express righteousness. Now, yes, there are mitzvot that when Chazal look at this word chok, they, like Rashi says, there are mitzvot that we don't know the reasons. Shatnez. Why can't I buy a suit made out of wool and linen? Why can't I have that pizza at the Italian pizza shop? Why are we tossing a goat off of a cliff on Yom Kippur? And Chazal say, and Chazal say about those mitzvot that it is not only we don't know the reason, it is forbidden. Okay, ein l'cha reshut. It is forbidden to think about what the reason could be. Okay, ein l'cha reshut l'cher b'hen. And the sudden tempts us to go away with, like, why would God care if I wear a suit made out of wool and linen? So, what about that opinion? It's not that there is no rationale. It's not that these mitzvot are purely arbitrary. Because to say that Hashem does things arbitrarily means Hashem does nonsense. And Hashem does not do nonsense. There is a reason. And yes, there's a pragmatic, utilitarian, functional reason for every single mitzvah. But we don't know the things that we don't know. Like Shlomo says in Kohelet, Shlomo said, I figured everything out except for paraduma. The things that we can't figure out, and whether because we're not intelligent enough or we lack sufficient knowledge. They call mitzvah tam. Every mitzvah has a reason. Every single mitzvah. There's nothing arbitrary in the Torah. There's nothing in the Torah that Hashem gave us mitzvah. Hashem it's just to give us more ways to accumulate merits, which is the opinion, apparently, of Rav Sadia Gaon, which is something else. He held that there are mitzvot that indeed are just given, so if we obey them, will, like as Rashi says, will prove that we're loyal to Hashem. The Rambam doesn't like that. There's nothing arbitrary. There's nothing capricious in the Torah. Okay? And some mitzvah we don't have to know the reason. I know I can't commit murder. I know I can't steal. Right? Murder and robbery. They're both by the Torah mitzvah. I know why they're maser. They're bad. They're just obviously bad. And there are other mitzvot that I don't know the reason. I don't know why I have to wait 3 years for my lemon tree before I can even think about the lemons. I don't know why I can't plant cabbage next to my grapevines. Now, the masses, the hamon, which isn't really a compliment, they divide the Torah into mishpatim, which are comprehensible, and chukim, which are incomprehensible. But there's a drasha that we need to know. And we just need to know that there are reasons. And this is the famous drasha. The Rambam quotes it also. You know what is well known amongst us. Shlomo knew all the mitzvot reasons except for paraduma. That's we saw in Kohelet. But Hashem doesn't tell us the reasons, because Shlomo, who knew all the reasons, messed up on a very obvious reason. That's why Hashem doesn't explain everything to us. If you tell everybody why, then, it's like smoking. There are so many certain warnings, whether in Israeli cigarette packages or American cigarette packages. I know every person I knew who started smoking, this is back when I was in the Army, I'll start with one. It's okay. It's addictive. Nicotine is terribly addictive. They make a joke. It's easy to quit smoking. You do it 2 times a day. You know reasons. You think you're smart. The things you shouldn't be messing with. Okay? Now, there's another drasha. Okay? That seems to imply that there are no reasons. But we see basically that if we learn from Shlomo Melech, there are reasons. But if you think more about the reasons, you might think, that reason doesn't apply to me. Hashem doesn't tell us any reasons. But there's another idea that the Gemara quote that you can find in the Medrash, which the Ramban talks about. And this is the Ramban on Shiluach HaKen, which the Gemara says. We don't talk about Hashem's rachamim on the bird because they're gzerot. And so there's a drasha. So the Rambam says everything has a reason. He's convinced to say that they're mitzvah without reasons, it's insulting to Hashem. It's insulting. So what about the mission that said, don't talk about Hashem's mercy? Maybe Shiluach HaKen is about mercy. Have mercy on the mother bird. Why would Chazal against that prayer? So the Ramban quotes the Rambam. Don't get to the Ramban's own pshat. Don't tell me that we don't look for reasons, because we see in that Mishnah that whoever praises Hashem for having mercy on the mother bird can't be a chazan. There are 2 reasons why that Mishnah says what it says. There are apparently people, like we see Rashi, or the author of this Mishnah, say that the mitzvot are arbitrary. Okay? There are people like Rashi says, they're just, we are given mitzvah so we can demonstrate our loyalty to Hashem. We don't hold like that idea, the Rambam says. But there's another medrash that the Rambam found challenging. We have to do shchita. And there are all these anti-shchita campaigns, right? And the people always attacking Judaism as, why don't you kill the animals more humanely? Why don't you stun them first? Right? We're attacked. Then what if this is God's law? What does it make to God how you kill the chicken or how you kill the cow? And what is the Midrash answer to that question? The mitzvah were just given to us to purify us, to show that we're loyal to Hashem. Okay? So, what do we say? So the Rambam will tell us that, yes, you can find drushos, and I don't agree with that drusha. Now, the Ramban doesn't like that. He doesn't like the idea, there are drushas that I like, and there are drushas that I don't like. The Rambam is very comfortable with saying that. He dismissed all of the stories in the Gemara about astrology. He says, yes, there were rabbis who believed in astrology, but that's not where I'm going. The Ramban doesn't really like that. Okay? So what does Ramban do with these drushos? Well, I think the message of these drushos, the message of the Mishnah about the Shiluach HaKen, the message of the Gemara about Shchita. What difference does it make to God how you shech? Don't think that these mitzvot are for Hashem. Chalila to think that when we do mitzvot, we're somehow aiding Hashem. All the mitzvot are given to us for our physical benefit, or our spiritual benefit, or our ethical benefit. Let's go Nissan flows as Hashem. Or some mitzvot are commemorative. We should remember Hashem helped us. That's why it says the mitzvot purify us. We're like purified silver. The person who mines silver, it's an ore. And you have to purify it by removing all of the other minerals and dirt and rocks that aren't silver. So you fire it, you bang on it, you put it into a crucible, and you distill it, and all these things look like you're hurting the silver, but really you're purifying the silver. And they teach us truth. Okay, and we see it by the and the halachas of treif animals. Again, what does it make to Hashem how we shecht? What Goy will tell us, what does it make to this God of yours? You're helping God by shechting as opposed to stunning? Okay, like my Italian friends would say, what difference does it make to your God if you eat a pepperoni pizza or you don't eat a pepperoni pizza? The mitzvot are here to purify us. Okay? It's not that the mitzvahs don't have a reason, but they're not a reason for Hashem. They're for us. And as far as Ramban is concerned, Shchita, and again, there enough been stated that Shchita does not cause perceptible pain to the animal. Shchita done properly is painless. It does teach Rachamim. But don't think that Hashem is doing it for himself. He's doing it for us. Shiluach HaKen is about Rachamim. But it does. I can learn a lesson of mercy from it. But don't think that we're helping Hashem. Ma'ichpat lo. It doesn't benefit Hashem. It benefits us. Okay? So that's how the Ramban looks at it. And there is no disagreement among Chazal as far as Ramban's concerned. Rambam says there is. He takes these drashot rather at face value, and apparently they reflect an opinion which Rambam says is not the opinion that he accepts. all the mitzvot, according to the Ramban, all the mitzvot have a good purpose, and that's that. So what about Darshin and Timer to Kral? Do I always look for the what? So I go back to Gemara Babatzia. Well, if all the mitzvot have a good purpose, then what does it mean that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't look at the reason of the pasuk? So if Shimon Shon follow Hirsch talks about this, I think we'll finish with that today. Okay, Darshin and Timer to Kral. Rav Shimon Shon wrote this in his Parish on the Torah. The people who misunderstand the debate of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. And they look at Rabbi Yehuda and say, it's usher to look for reasons in psukim. It's usher to look for reasons in the mitzvah. Okay, let's just forget that the Kesef Mishnah says, according to the Rambam, we do it like Rabbi Shimon. The halacha is they can't take a mashkon from a rich woman, from a rich widow. That means that I'll look at the reason. Why does the Torah say don't take a mashkon from a widow? Presumably because she's a poor widow. From the wealthy widow, I can. All right. The Rabbi Shimon better be able to so the Yakash Machogas in Dashin Tamadikla ain't no got shumban machikiras al time mitzvahs darklau. They don't. When Rabbi Shimon, when Yehuda says we don't darshan the reasons of psukim, it doesn't mean at all that we should not look for the reasons and lessons in the mitzvah. That's what the Rambam endorses. That's what the Ramban endorses, and even Rabbi Yehuda would endorse that. Why does it mean they don't darshan time in the krah? Torah says don't do something. Don't take the mashkan from the widow. The mitzvahs el nishas hasheling mutlo freishos al pi tamam yuchaslen lo yisod like built hekefam. But no one says don't look for lessons. What Rabbi opposes is I will look at a reason, and yes, it's good to have rachmanis on widows, but can I apply this reason that I find in the mitzvah and then apply that reason to the practical practice of the mitzvah, to limit the scope of the mitzvah? Okay? That's what Rabbi Yehuda opposes. To limit the scope of a mitzvah and because I think I know the reason of the mitzvah. That is what is rejected by Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon says, yes, I look at this isser of taking a mashkan from a widow, and I will say it must be referring to a poor widow. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, you should look at the reason. Yes, you should have achmanis on widows, but that doesn't mean that if you find a rich widow, you can take a mashkan from her, because the Torah says simply, do not take a mashkan from a widow. That's not to say don't look for reasons. It's Rabbi Yehuda holds, don't try to find, after you find your reason, which is actually a good thing to do. Like the Rambam says, the Ramban says, that the mitzvot are not arbitrary. They contain lessons, valuable lessons. So I say, now that I know the lesson, I can limit the scope of and the application of the mitzvah. That was the mistake of Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech, the Torah says, like the Gemara in Sanhedrin emphasizes, the Torah specifically says, why not take many wives? Well, Yaso Levavo. Shlomo HaMelech looked at himself honestly. Hashem gave him a bracha, right? Shlomo HaMelech had more wisdom than anybody else. Anybody else. When he looks at a mitzvah, he understands it. He does understand it. But then he tries to apply his understanding of the mitzvah. I want to apply my understanding of the mitzvah to how I practice the mitzvah. And that's the flaw. And that's the hazard of looking for reasons in mitzvah. And perhaps that's what leads Rashi to his explanation of the Mishnah. According to Rambam, the authors of the other midrashim, well, what difference does it make to go? Mitzvah are there to l'tzaref. As Saidigon understands it. They're there to purify us. When we obey mitzvah, we're showing our loyalty to Hashem the King. Hashem is the King. The subjects of the King do not question the King's decrees. They don't ponder them, what they call blind faith. Blind faith. Rambam is against, says, no, it's insulting to the Torah to say that the Torah has no reasons. It's insulting to Hashem who wrote the Torah. To say Hashem just does things arbitrarily and capriciously. Can't be. So that's that. That's about why. Some people say, should ask why. Some people say, don't ask why. Any questions?
No. Pretty clear.
Okay. What?
Thank you. It said it's pretty clear.
I hope so. Okay. So thank you for your time. And we'll see you next week. Here's my email. If there's any particular thing you want to, why? If you have a why question, you can send it to me. Here's my email address. And we'll think, because you have like a few weeks to talk about why. So if you have a why question, that's my email. Okay? And send me a why email. Why, I don't know, why, what's a good why? What's like a strange thing that people do? The things I can't answer. When I got married, all my Hasidic relatives, I had to untie my shoelaces. It was never clear to me. And I found others from to talk about it, but there are things we just don't know. Okay. So bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.